Hey, what's up, RTJs? Your boy Jeffrey L. Boney here, live for another edition of Real Talk Junkies. You know what time it is, RTJs. If you ever saw a show of Real Talk Junkies before, you already know it's going to be fire. If you haven't, welcome to Real Talk Junkies for the first time. This is your boy Jeffrey L. Boney. We have a hot fire show today, something a little different, but it's something that's definitely going to relate to people that may or may not know about this particular subject. I want to give a prayer and a shout out to all of the Haitian refugees that are out there. Y'all see the stuff that's going down at the border. I definitely plan to hit on that very, very soon. It's definitely something that is concerning to me. And you wonder why, they don't want to teach about the horrific past here in America, or as they call it, critical race theory. They want to pass laws to try to prevent us from talking about many of the things that are going on. I was reminded after seeing those people on horsemen, those border patrol agents on horses, with their whips and, riding their horses, intimidating those Haitian refugees who are trying to seek asylum, just like the Afghan refugees and just like those from Mexico and others that are trying to get to this great country. But I've never seen any of the other cultural groups get treated the way those Haitian refugees have been. And it just reminds me of what took place many, many years ago when enslaved people of African descent ran away from their slave masters on the plantation. And they sent out these patrol agents, if you will, to rally them and to kind of get them back into the fold, if you will, and bring them back to the plantation. But anyway, we're going to get into that another time, but it's definitely something that's tugging on my heartstrings and something that's on my mind, really pissing me off, to be honest with you, particularly because it's happening under a Democratic control administration, i.e. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. But we'll get into that another time. Let's get into today's topic. Now, for all of y'all who follow me or have followed me for some time, you know that networking is very, very important to me. Matter of fact, I oftentimes say your network is your net worth. And networking is an important aspect of business development and social interaction. And for many people, the game of golf has been one of the most identifiable networking social activities that has garnered results for many people, especially Black people who have finally discovered the game over a period of time or allowed to play the game. While there are many ways to network, cigar lounges and cigar social clubs have become a social phenomenon primarily fueled by many younger adults joining the cigar culture. And not just younger adults, many of our mature individuals as well. And although Black millennials are a major consumer of cigar smokers these days, many African-American women are also becoming a dominant part of the culture, primarily because of the networking aspect of the cigar culture that has attracted many Black people to this $9.4 billion a year cigar industry. For some, it's opened up a new door for networking, and for others, it's opened up an entirely different world of entrepreneurship and business opportunity. Joining me today to discuss everything cigars is one of the nation's leading African-American female cigar aficionados, Ms. Timmy Bush, one of the founders of Empress Cut Cigars, headquartered right here in Houston, Texas. Welcome to Real Talk Junkies on today, Timmy. All right, how's it going? Yes, we can hear you. Welcome to Real Talk Junkies.
Love work days today.
I didn't hear what you say. That again. I think we're having a bit of a challenge with your connection on your end. But tell the people who are listening a little bit more about yourself and Empress Cut Cigars, how you got into the cigar business.
Well, I think and his friends living in Panama and growing curiosity that got me exposed to the environment.
Yeah. So again, I'm not sure the internet connection that you may have right now seems to be a little shaking. I don't want anybody to miss this outstanding information that you're going to drop on us. And so if we could get you on a better connection and bring you back in,
you want to take a break and have me read?
Yeah, if you could,
you want to have me reboot?
Yeah, if you could log on either through a different phone or through a different device, or this device, and make sure that your connection is a little stronger, that would be outstanding. All right, thank you. So we'll have Timmy come back on, but like was stated earlier, a $9.4 billion industry in the cigar business. And a lot of you all may smoke cigars, may not smoke cigars, but just like the marijuana business and people that, used to be criminalized for, marijuana are now making money doing that in that particular industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry on its own. But there are a lot of African-Americans that are trying to get in that business, that are in that business. I know Mike Tyson, has gotten into that business, and several other celebrities have joined their forces in the CBD and the marijuana industry, which is now becoming legal in a lot of states. But the cigar industry is one that a lot of blacks had not gotten into. A lot of blacks hadn't either smoked cigars, or those that did just did so recreationally and really didn't do so in a way that it benefited them financially as far as their pocketbooks. And so it was more so looked at as a social, construct, a social interaction, something to just do, hanging with your fellas or hanging with your people, versus actually now being in the industry and being able to make money doing it. I think we got Timmy back on with us, hopefully with a better connection here. Timmy, you back?
Action.
All right. Yes, you sound a lot better now. Thank you so much again for joining us on Real Talk Junkies. So Timmy, like I said, you got into the cigar industry. You're an African-American female, and I don't know that there are a lot of African-American females in the industry, or a lot of blacks for that matter, but you can enlighten us on the industry as a whole and how you got into it.
Well, I got into it growing up in Panama with my grandparents, and being around my grandfather's friends and being exposed to the leaf in many different ways, it was of interest. Most people don't realize that Panama is a leaf country. And so there's lots of leaf farms and tobacco farms out there. And that's really the start of me getting involved. Coming into the fold of the United States, I just had my first experience going to a lounge back in the 90s with my cousin after college, and in Atlanta actually, and decided to basically go through that route and become more interested in it. And that experience was a little different because many women weren't in the lounges back then. So that experience in that particular lounge was pretty challenging at that point.
So let's talk about that. You said many women were not a part of the lounges, or allowed to go into the lounges. And so, what was that like when men started to see women, I guess, seeking to engage, seeking to be a part? Was there a lot of pushback? I mean, what was that experience like?
Well, back then in the 90s, there was an extreme amount of pushback. I don't think, it didn't make me feel comfortable. And I think that a large part of what I said to myself was that if I came in here, I would just myself. So that was my thought process. I think over the next couple of decades, it was still very, not most lounges or even the cigar industry itself was still not accepting of, many women. I think the earliest stages of starting to see the acceptance came about maybe within the past 5 years.
In the past 5 years. So we're talking about from 2016 to present.
Yeah, really. Yes.
Oh, wow. So I mean, you said that you got into that environment in the 90s. So can you talk about like how things have evolved? I mean, how did we get to this point where it's now more acceptable for women to be a part of these social circles in the cigar world versus, you know, the 90s?
Well, I think it's like any other. It was more women got involved in understanding it and in being forward with being cigar enthusiasts or accepting, or people started accepting the fact that we were cigar enthusiasts. So back then, I think it just like any other industry, there were just few of us, and for the few of us, we didn't have the tools to connect with each other. So there was no Instagram or Facebook or things like that where you could see more people like yourself who are interested in the lead. I think what has happened with the onset of social media is that it's provided people a venue so that many people can see other people like themselves and get an introduction into the market. You know, obviously, shows like yours, Jeffrey, enlighten people, and YouTube enlightens people. Many other influencers or other people online try to do that enlightening piece so that people are more aware and not as and not to say ignorant, but not as not informed as they used to be.
So, you know, you hear a lot about cigars. You know, if you smoke cigars or you don't, most of the time they're tied to the Cuba. You talk about Cuban cigars and things of that nature, but you mentioned Panama, and it's a leaf country. So you were exposed to it around, you know, I guess the early ages of your life, and now you're heavily into it. Were you always focused on getting into this arena because you were around it? Because I mean, I'm sure others were around it as well.
I wasn't focused on getting into it. I think the interactions with different people made me become more receptive to understanding more about it and then wanting to get into it. I saw many women working in the fields and working behind the scenes, but women couldn't partake in the enjoyment of the craft that they created. And so that was the impetus for me behind that. You know, why can't we enjoy and have a seat at the table or even create our own table to basically have the same providing to others?
So let's just be honest. You know, when you think about cigar smoking, you know, you rarely think about women smoking cigars. I mean, you know, because it seems like a real, you know, as far as the smell, as far as the smokiness, as far as who you normally see smoking cigars is mostly men and whatnot. But there's a lot of women, including yourself, who are heavily in this, and you travel all over the country and the world doing this as a cigar enthusiast. So, I mean, I guess the thing is, you know, why do women want to smoke cigars? I mean, what is it about the experience?
You said something about the smell. So cigars and a premium cigar, the aroma, premium cigar or even a pipe, the aroma is quite appetizing. I mean, it's medicinal. It provides you, you know, a chance to just bring it down and clear your mind. So I don't really view the smell as something that's that's not nice. I mean, the smell is actually, and then it depends on the person. The smell to me has always been something somewhat of aromatherapy, just like other leaves that we use for aromatherapy. I think that the misnomer is that cigar smoking is somehow like cigarette smoking, and it's a totally different craft and activity.
So tell me about the, you know, because there's different flavors and different smells, if you will. So talk to me about it, because you have a brand, Emperor's Cut
Yes,
cigars, which is actually one that which is one I've partaken of a few times and really enjoy that cigar. But tell me about, you know, because there's a ton of different brands out there and types of cigars. So, you know, what makes a good cigar?
well, I mean, a cigar is hand rolled, so I'm holding one of our Empress Cut cigars. This is actually a gordito, and it's 58 ring gauge, and a ring gauge is just like a ring. It's the ring around the gauge around the circumference of the cigar. So that's a 58 by 4, and this is generally if I'm smoking anything during the daytime, like right about now, it's Central Time here. So this will be a lunchtime smoke for me because it's a medium body. It has a Maduro wrapper. It's sun-grown Sumatra leaf. So it's got a little bit of discoloration in the leaf, so it doesn't look as dark as a Maduro. But what makes it a premium cigar is that it's hand-rolled. So, and then the leaf itself, it depends on how it's aged, how many years it's aged, what kind of aging process and duration process it undergoes. It can take on different tastes. If it's barrel aged in cocoa, coffee, nuts, wood, things like that. Just like it's a very close kin to the aging of grapes and wine and things of that nature.
Wow. Now, you gotta slow it down a little bit for the folks that like me that don't really know anything about anything you just said. You said a whole lot, but it sounded extremely important in the process of cigar rolling and the making of a quality premium cigar. We have Timmy Bush on with me. She is one of the founders of Empress Cut Cigars, and she's a cigar enthusiast. And I just noticed, I don't know if you're still there, but you were in Detroit.
I was in Detroit. Yes, I am. I am heading back. Yes.
Okay, and so tell us about why you were in Detroit.
I was in Detroit for Smoke on the River, which is the Detroit Riverfront Conservatory, which is a 501c3. While I lived in Detroit, was in the making of building out the riverfront, the international riverfront, and access to Detroiters and other people for that riverfront. And they've been very successful. They've provided opportunities, business opportunities, jobs, economic growth in the area, and development in the area as well. Partnership with other sponsors of that event, the casino, Soaring Eagle, I believe, casino, La Casa Cigar Lounge in Detroit, Cigar Lipsticks and Fingertips, Christine out of Atlanta. Cigar is Monique out of Detroit. She has the Loft Lounge. And all the cigar vendors, to include Empress Cut Cigars, we collaborated to have the second annual Smoke on the River. And it was a very nice event. It was probably about 20 cigar vendors, retailers combined, and then all the accoutrements of, outside lounge area with overlooking the riverfront, the water, which Detroit is known for having a really great riverfront and waterfront, and a lot of entertainment, food trucks. It was just a very nice time and a lot of support from the community and Detroiters themselves, who are obviously big smokers. And if you know anything about tobacco, Detroit used to be a tobacco town before the big fire in the 1800s.
Mm. So Timmy, let's talk about the, I want to get back to the actual smoking of the cigars and a lot of the stuff that you talked about, but let's talk about the networking and business side of this. I mean, how has this industry, I guess, enhanced your life or allowed you to connect with people that you probably otherwise wouldn't have?
Well, I think the industry itself is a connector. However, cigar lounges allow you just the act of picking up a cigar, color, socioeconomic status, creed, race, ethnicity, none of that. So when you pick up a cigar, you become in commune with that other person that has a cigar, and that breaks down all the barriers. It breaks down a lot of different barriers that come about in a day that in any other industry you would deal with. I think it creates and opens up the avenue for a lot of communication along the lines of similarities or just commonalities or just a sense of community just by picking up the cigar. And in our country, it was just the community itself, that just the peacefulness that it brought about of lighting up and sitting in a peaceful, quiet place, space where you could enjoy. It's very different from any other activity that involves smoking or anything like that, because you do have to ensure that your environment is open to partaking in this craft. It's not an inexpensive craft. So when you purchase it, you want to ensure that your environment is conducive of enjoying it.
So you just said a few things. You call it a craft. Why is it referred to as a craft?
Because I think it's an art. It's an art and craft that cigar smoking is not for everyone, and you're not actually smoking a cigar. You are tasting the leaf. You're tasting the um, the the aroma. You're tasting it on your palate. You're not actually inhaling and um, taking in that smoke as you would in a cigarette or anything else. You're not trying to get through it. You're trying to let it take you through.
Mm. Thus, it's a craft. And you also mentioned about it being not inexpensive. So it's an investment.
It is an investment, yes.
Okay. And when you say not inexpensive, like what are we talking about? Price range
Well,
on average?
you can get a non-premium cigar from anywhere from $5 a stick to and up. But a premium cigar is generally around 10 to 15 to 10 to 12 a stick on the low end, and then up from there, depending on the region of the country. Some regions have different tax rates, so the price of the cigar has to include that, and it might be a little bit higher.
So if you're not in the cigar life, if you will, if you're not in the social circles of smoking cigars on a regular basis, do you want to come out the gate like a baller and say I'm gonna get a top high end cigar and splurge so I can act like I know what I'm doing, or should, how do you start? How do you begin if you want to get into enjoying the cigar, not smoking it as you say, but enjoying the taste and on your palate?
I think you would just first you need to educate yourself, and you really have to understand what you like. It's just like trying foods or trying wines. You're gonna sample initially, and you're gonna sample different types, different variations of a cigar, and you're gonna find out what you like on your palate. Some people like sugar, sweet things. Some people like sour things. Some people like bitter. Cigars come in all those variations, come with all those variations. So you have to understand what you like in your palate. And once you figure that out by um, trying several different cigars, then you can gravitate towards learning the ones that you might want to stay with.
So I know in the world of wine, there's a sommelier who helps you identify and breaks down the various wines. Do you all have something similar in the cigar world? Would that be you?
Well, I'm educated in the arena. There's tobacconists, and there's quite a few in the area. There are sommeliers that are cigar sommeliers, a few in the area, and there are generally enthusiasts. I mean, to be an aficionado, which that gets thrown around a lot, takes a lot. So I think that those are the three areas where you can find people that can educate on the cigar craft. There are rollers who um, just as educated as anyone else in the craft. So, and we have all of those types of folks available to us in the area.
So, again, we have Timmy Bush joining us, talking about the world of cigars, and her being an African American female that's heavily engaged in this arena. And you all are basically, taking the world by storm. I saw, as a matter of fact, I saw an article that NBC News did on you all, here recently. I think it was last year sometime, where they were talking about the industry and referenced you all pretty heavily in that. So it's good to see that African Americans are being highlighted in this industry. But let's go back to some simple things, for those that either are new to this, because I know several people who are just now getting into smoking cigars or trying to enjoy. So do we call it smoking cigars, or what do we call it? Since you say you don't inhale it or smoke it.
Preference. The one thing about the cigar community is it's not really stressful. It's supposed to be a de-stressing activity. So whatever your preference is, it's your prerogative. I mean, at this stage in our lives, most of us who are working or who engage in the craft are seasoned. So no one really cares what you call it.
Okay. And what's interesting is when you do smoke cigars or partake of a cigar, is it best to do so after you've done all of your business meetings and important meetings, and doing it later in maybe the evening time? You mentioned something about a lunchtime cigar or whatever, but I'm thinking about it because, that smoke will get into your clothes. And, of course, you smoking it. And so you're taking it in on your palate and in your mouth. And so do you have to carry around, a change of clothes or some toothpaste and toothbrush and mouthwash?
Those of us that partake know that cigar smoking, again, is not like cigarette smoking. So it's not necessarily going to be in your clothes, depending on it also depends on the ventilation. Are you indoors, outdoors? Is the place that you're indoors well ventilated? It's a lot of different variables in there, but you can smoke a cigar any time of the day during any activity as long as the participants are all willing and able and they all want to join in. You can have it on the golf course. You can have it in the morning. I, have it with my tea. You can have it with tea drinkers. So that's another leaf of mine. But at the end of the day, it's whenever you feel the need to just de-stress and bring it down and get into your moment.
Okay, so you talked about it not getting in your clothes. I found that to be technically impossible, at least in my experience. How do you avoid getting that smoke in your clothes? You said about the ventilation or whatever, or is the key going outside?
Well, no, if you're outside, obviously that's a whole. So cigar smoke, and it depends on what kind of cigar you're smoking. I mean, there's some cigars that give off more smoke and are more pungent and bold, and there are others that are just a different variation. They're lighter. It just depends. And for me, I generally don't have the problem with the cigar smoke in my clothes, and that's because of a lot of different things. The plants, the outside versus inside, the ventilation, and everything else, and then what I do to keep it out of my hair.
Mm, mm. So what about the cigar? I guess the smell of the cigar on your breath when you're communicating with people. How do you deal with that?
So generally, if you're at a cigar lounge, there's mouthwash after you're done with the cigar. If
Okay.
it's after hours, you're having the cigar with a great bourbon or scotch, and the taste combination and the pairing. And I've got these little pairing cards for most of our cigars. We show you what goes well with a cigar, and it's actually a compliment. So you don't get that whole taste in your mouth if you pair it well with the bourbons, whiskeys, scotch, whatever your preference is. Generally, for me, it's whiskey, bourbons, maybe whiskey, Uncle Nearest. A bourbon would be like Woodford Reserve or something like that on the lighter end, and then you can get as expensive as the Blantons or the harder to find bourbons, and then the scotches that are available also provide that balance.
So on average, if you're smoking, if you're smoking cigars,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to a lounge or you're having fellowship with some folks, wherever you may be, on average, is smoking one cigar in a setting usually a good thing, or how many cigars is usually considered, I guess, a max?
Well, that's a good question because a cigar is not a quick deal. You can have, like this particular cigar is about 45 minutes of a commitment. A cigar is a commitment, just like a relationship. So you have to know what you're getting into. You can get another, a Toro, which is a 6.5 by 52 Arturo, the original Natural Pleasure. And that cigar is over an hour, might even be an hour and a half. And that's just a 52 ring gauge with a 6.5 length. So it depends on what your time frame is. So if you're at the lounge for an hour, you might only be smoking one cigar. That's the commitment.
Mm. So what makes it longer? And you know, you said 45 minutes for one. Is it the length, or the, you know, how the, what do you call it, the ring gauge?
The length, the ring gauge, the amount of tobacco in the cigar for that ring gauge. So with a 52 by 6.5, that's pretty long. Not a large ring gauge. We have a 56 by 6.5. That's an even larger ring gauge with more tobacco, and that's in our Jazz series. And that may take you, you know, some people as full as 2 hours, and some have been able to smoke it for like an hour and 15. But that's really being committed to it because it is, like I said before, a commitment.
So there, you mentioned something about different flavors. You know, some people like sugar or sweet. Some people like bitter. Some people like sour. So it's often said that, you know, those flavored cigars. I think Tatiana is one popular flavor, or excuse me, brand that people tend to smoke. Those are the female, you know, cigars, and the men smoke these bold, larger cigars. But that's not the case, right?
That's not the case. I think, you know, it just depends on the person. You could say a cupcake is for just little girls, and you know, a hot dog is for boys. I mean, that's just like saying that. That's totally incorrect. So, cigars are for the person's preference, and it then goes back to what does that person prefer? Do they prefer sweet, sour, bitter? Whatever their preference is, that's what they smoke. And there are many women that smoke bold cigars, robust, bold cigars, and I'm one of them.
Gotcha. All right. So listen, Timmy, let's talk about how this industry, I asked you kind of somewhat earlier about how it enhanced your life from a business and or networking standpoint, but you're in the business. Give me some examples, or maybe at least one, of maybe how being in this industry has helped you from a business and or networking standpoint.
So business and network, I think I meet quite a few people who are in other industries that I'm familiar with, whether it be political, whether it be sports activities, things like that. I meet different types of people. So, from a networking standpoint, depending on where you are in your life, professional life, personal life, career, it is that, again, that community that comes together with just by lighting up a cigar. You can bring it down and have some of the most interesting conversations with people that you wouldn't normally come across in your day-to-day life.
So one of the viewers is asking, does your company do events, parties, etc.? If so, what is that process?
We do do events. We have a website, www.emperors-cut empresscut.com. And we also have an Instagram page. Emperor's Cut Cigars is our IG. Our Facebook, Emperor's Space Cut Space Cigars. And you can send that question to one of those three areas, and we can address it. We do. So the event we did in Detroit was part of that process. It was coming there. Obviously, we sold cigars, and that was part of the process. But it was also the community, supporting the community, and being a part of the fiber of Detroit and the rebuilding of that riverfront as well.
So, you know, as we know, African Americans make up 13% of the overall population of the United States. And it appears that African Americans are starting to really, you know, get more involved and engaged in this industry. Do you see it increasing significantly, or is it a gradual increase?
Well, the ATF space, the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms space, has been a space where we have been underrepresented for a while. And I see it definitely increasing. Maybe not at the pace that people really understand, but it is increasing.
Okay. All right. And so relative to, you know, I guess you and your travels, you know, are there a lot of African American females in the space that own cigar lounges and or maybe have their own brand as well of cigars?
Yes. And actually I posted that, just a shout out to the guys that did, to Will, the email that helped organize Smoke on the River in Detroit, because I just did an IG post maybe a day ago or a couple days ago of all the women that were involved, all the women that they brought together from the representative from Uncle Nearest to obviously me from Emperor's Cut Cigars to Cigarden, Monique, Drunk Chicken, Desiree, LSF, Christine, Spades, Christy, and the accessory side, Nevers, Anita, you know, just a lot of different women involved in the industry that were brought together in that setting. And that was a pretty great thing. Even on my team, my support team, I had Gretchen, who was my backup, and she's female, and she had a great time. And there, many of us have, that I mentioned, have plenty of women that support us in the industry as well.
All right. So one of our viewers made a comment. Benny Winfield Jr. said, "Smoking cigars is not good for you." What are your thoughts on that?
I think that there are a lot of things that are for you, and I think that it's up to the person's personal vices that use to have, they don't.
Okay. Well, there you have it. And so, you know, I don't know what they're referencing. They just made the comment. So I think that is there a lot of, as you've heard and done your research, are there a lot of negative aspects health-wise as tied to smoking cigars, as you know it?
There's negative aspects and positive aspects to things. And I challenge people every day that processed foods and use organic foods, find negative and positive in every single thing. I think that something will take us out eventually, and I do believe that people have to choose what they choose to do.
Gotcha. So going back to the traveling and just nationwide, where do you find there to be the most excitement, I guess, or engagement relative to cigar smoking amongst African Americans across the country?
Everywhere. So I think cities like Atlanta, cities, obviously Houston, you've got LA, you've got Miami. If we're talking about the United States, all the Caribbean countries have embraced cigars for some time. So that it's not new to them, and Europe has embraced the cigar and the tobacco industry for some time. We're actually, our distribution company is based out of Denmark. So we were picked up by Sutliff Tobacco a couple of months ago, and that distribution deal has opened us up to a whole global network. And they're out of Europe. And so having that exposure has exposed us to a lot within the world. And it's embraced all over the world.
Right. So as it relates to a cut versus a punch, can you explain that?
So you're talking about a straight cut, like a Gillian cut. So that's basically, a punch is more contained, and I don't have the tools in front of me for the cut or the punch. Let's see if oh, actually, I do. Yep. So I have an Emperor's Cut cutter in front of me, and this is a straight cut. And literally, you're just basically cutting and taking a portion of the cap off.
And why do you do that?
To begin your smoke. So to begin the smoke, you want to take just that portion of the cap off so that you can get the aroma that you need for that enjoyment of that particular cigar. The cap is usually covered on a cigar, so you have to have some way of getting it off. Back in the day, when I was with around my family, they would just take their teeth and just take it off.
And so that is a cut. So the punch is what do you use from a tool perspective for that?
Yeah, so the punch, and I'm looking to see if I have a punch available, which I don't think I do. I would take you on a tour to all the tools that I have, but
yeah. Well, it's okay. But if you could just explain it as best you can.
Punch is just so I have this cigar stick. Numbers by Nita. She makes these for us. But the punch just gives you a more contained flow of the aroma. So a punch is circular, and it basically just punches into it. And I'm looking to see if I have a punch.
So for those of you who are cigar smokers or thinking about smoking cigars or may have done it one time or whatnot, there's different ways in which you begin to smoke the cigar. You can't just smoke it as is. You have to either cut it or you have to do what's called a punch. And that's what she was seeking to find, a tool to be able to do so. But you can go ahead and describe it if you haven't found one.
Yeah, I haven't found one. You for a loop there, but the punch is just it'll circular, and it'll just punch a hole in the top of the cigar, and so that will just generate your flow of the aroma will be more contained, so that it just kind of contains it. And then you have a V cut, which further contains it as well. You can do different types.
Is there a right and a wrong way to cut the cigar, or to start to smoke the cigar, as far as whether a punch or whether a cut?
So no, punch or cut, it's your choice, whatever you pick. However, if you do a straight cut, there is a wrong way to do that straight cut. So you can cut off too much of the cap, which will kind of change things for you. You can cut it. You can cut it slanted if you want to. Different people have their different ways of doing things, and it's totally up to you.
So many of the cigars come with a label on it that identifies the brand of the cigar, right? Yep. So when you're smoking a cigar, do you smoke it up to the beginning part of that label, or do you take it off completely and smoke it to the end?
You have different preferences. Some people will take the label off and then on the onset because they prefer it that way. They want to hold the cigar in their hand without touching the label. Generally, if you're smoking, you want to take the label off if you get too close. You don't want to smoke the label.
Right. So, you know, for those that want to look cool or be cool smoking a cigar, is there a proper way to hold the cigar? Because some people hold it, with their thumb and middle finger, pointy finger together, and then some have it, I guess tucked between, their middle finger and their pointing finger as well. And some people look super cool doing it, and some people look awkward. So, is there a right way to hold the cigar?
Well, generally the best way to hold it is just to secure it within your index finger and your thumb, and then let it rest on your other fingers. There are people that hold it within the second finger and the index finger and hold it that way. As long as you secure the cigar, I think we've come to terms with there used to be this proper way of etiquette of holding it. And literally, I think that for the most part, as long as you're enjoying what you're doing, you can do what you want.
So relative to sometimes when the cigar is being smoked, it becomes uneven as it's burning. Why does that happen, and then how do you correct that?
Sometimes it's the way it's rolled, the way you lit it. Lighting a cigar is really tricky because you can burn the cigar, kind of like toasting bread in the oven. I don't know if you remember when you like toast bread in the oven and you put it on broil and it was all burnt and you
Yes, yes.
off the burnt part, but it still tasted burned. So that's the same as the leaf. If you burn it when you're lighting it, um, so if you start to light it and you get the flame too close to it, burning, the whole cigar is ruined. You're gonna burn it. You're gonna taste the burn.
Okay. One of the viewers, Karen Carter Richards, asks, "Can you give us a little information on storing cigars at home?" I know some people have purchased a humidifier. I want to say it's called
Humidor.
humidor. Thank you. You're the enthusiast, the aficionado. So I want to know, for those that may not have a humidor, how can they store their cigars at home? Because some of them, they may buy multiple cigars or maybe gifted cigars, and they don't smoke them all at once, and they want to preserve it. So for those that talk about a humidor, and talk about if they don't have one, how do you store it?
So humidor, I have a travel humidor here, and in that travel humidor, I keep a few cigars. This travel humidor was made by Numbers by Nita again. And in this travel humidor, I have a humidity control pack, and that just keeps the moisture balance for the cigars, because they need moisture to preserve them over time. Now, if you buy cigars and you have a box that they came in, then you can take that same humidity pack and put it inside the box and keep your cigars in that box. If you don't have a humidor of any sort, I'm going to show you a trick. Hold up for just 1 minute.
Okay. All right. So for those of you, this is your opportunity, your time to learn some things. If you don't have a humidor, or if you want to preserve your cigars, here you go. You get the trick straight from Timmy.
So if you don't have a humidor, and I have about 9 humidors that I keep cigars in, and I have all types of different things that I do. Don't have a humidor, you can keep your cigars in a plastic baggie sealed. This one's called HEB Texas Tough. So and then inside the baggie, you've got your humidor pack. And that's the quick and dirty way of keeping the cigars fresh and storing them if you don't have a humidor.
Okay, so that's just a regular plastic bag.
Regular plastic bag.
And you get that humidor pack Or humidity pack where?
The humidity pack, excuse me, the humidity pack, you can get it from any lounge. Most of them sell them right at the counter when you buy your cigars. They'll actually even give you the cigar in a little plastic bag with a little HumiSmart has one, and Babita has one. And they do it right in the store sometimes. You can buy it, and they'll give you the plastic bag, and you put the Pack right in there. HumiSmart has the little small ones, but Babita does too, have the little small square ones that can fit right in the small bags that they give you at the lounges.
All right, a few other questions surrounding that. So how much on average is a humidity pack if you have to buy one? How long do they last as far as the humidity pack is concerned? And how long should you keep a cigar before smoking it?
Before smoking, or how long should you keep?
How long should you keep a cigar? Because there are times where, you know, if you don't have a humidity pack, or if you do have one, you know, after a period of time, I guess the cigar becomes bad, or it's not smokable. It starts to unravel in some cases.
Yeah, so that's it can happen, but you can keep a cigar for as long as you want, as long as you keep it under the right humidity control. You can keep a cigar. I think these have been in this plastic bag for maybe, and this was just in one of my extra humidor shells, probably for 2 years now.
You said 2 years?
Yeah, the Humid Pack, as long as it's sealed and in something that's contained, can last you several years. And if it does get hard, because they will, if you allow them to dry out, like sit out, because it's keeping the humidity control. So if it's in a place that's dry, then it's gonna turn this dry. And so with my humidors, I have a Govee apparatus inside all of my humidors, and that tells me what. Let me show
you. We're getting full education on all things cigars.
Yeah, these apparatuses are in each one of my humidors, and it alarms me through my phone app if the humidity is a dangerously low rate or too high or something like that, because you can get, you know, challenges with both extremes. And so you can keep a cigar for as long as you want. Back to that question. As long as the right temperature control, and even when it dries, you can kind of bring it back to life with some distilled water in your humidor and some other things. Just keeping the water and the temperature control, putting it back into a closed humidor space, or even if you put it in here in the plastic, you can put a wet paper towel in there with it. If your Babita pack gets dried out, you can wrap it in a wet paper towel. There's all different ways to do it. So maybe that'll be
right. Or do you offer training on a lot of the things that you talked about? You know, is there a way that if someone wants to learn more about the art of smoking a cigar as a craft, or if they, I guess, are looking for more information, are they able to reach out to any other recommended websites and or you know, places that they can go, particularly in the greater Houston area?
So yeah, we do offer training, and can message us. And there's actually several different other places that do YouTubes and things like that. You can message us on IG. Again, it's Emperor's Cut Cigars on IG. On Facebook, Emperor's Face Cut Cigars. And on the website, it's www.emperors-cut.com. And I'm Temi, and on IG, I'm at TEMIBU26. And if you want to reach out to me personally, you feel free. Any of those venues should get you the information you need.
All right, so you know, we're about to come to a close, and I really greatly appreciate you for being on with us today. been a wealth of knowledge. I know this is a topic that we've never broached before, but I thought it was so interesting because so many African Americans are now heavily getting into this. And, you know, there are times that I go out and about and I see African Americans smoking in mass, you know, a lot of gatherings. It's almost like a new phenomenon almost, but it's not, as you stated. It's been going on for years. It's just more people are getting more engaged, involved in it. You know, just like with golf, you know, it takes several hours to get through a round of golf. And at the golf course, you know, a lot of business deals. I know I was a banker for 11 years and, of course, have been an entrepreneur. And I've gotten a lot of deals done on the golf course. You know, I sucked at golf. Wasn't the very best. I mean, I was decent, but you know, it was something that I got into the business of doing because I was told that if you want to get deals done, you have an inordinate amount of time to have a conversation while playing the game. So now we have this this craft that people can potentially get engaged and involved with if they're interested. And you say it takes, you know, about an hour roughly to do that. So if you're going to do it, it's going to require you to set aside some time to be able to do it, right? Say that once again.
And do it while you're on the golf course, so you can engage in this activity combined with some of your other activities.
Gotcha. So as we're about to close, I'd like for you to share any other information with our viewers that may be helpful to them, something that they would want to know, something that they may need encouragement in, or maybe we haven't discussed today.
Well, for me, I look at time today, and this just comes with wisdom and a whole lot of living. A day is like a year to me. So everything that we do in each one of our days is pure enjoyment. Taking time to understand yourself, to enjoy yourself, to partake in the things that give you peace are very, very important. And that's what I live by now. I just want to express to everyone, especially with what happened last year with the pandemic, what's happening in Haiti right now, around the world, take the time to find what gives you peace and embrace it and enjoy it, because we're not promised tomorrow. And all of the activities we partake in are for our general health. And as people of color, we have not always taken time for ourselves. So if I don't offer you anything else, I know that I'm in the cigar industry, among other industries, but I'm asking you to take the time to just pay attention to yourself.
Well, I'm looking forward to enjoying an Emperor's Cut cigar very, very soon. I know not too long ago I had, I don't know the actual name of it, but it was a red label Emperor's Cut cigar.
It was a Dizzy, just like this one, had a different color label, part of a jazz series. So it was originally very colorful.
Yes, well, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I look forward to partaking in others. And I hope that this was helpful for all of our RTJs out there, as Timmy Bush, Emperor's Cut Cigars, has provided us with a wealth of information about the industry. And, you know, we appreciate it. I mean, you know, you're definitely knowledgeable on the subject matter, and I hope to have you back on to talk about that and other things, because I know you're heavily in the technological arena as far as business wise. So I know that we'll be talking to you about some of that stuff as well. All right. Thank you so much for joining us on Real Talk Junkies today. And give everybody your website again.
Did I lose you?
No, we're here. Give everybody your website again. Okay, I think we did lose her connection wise. Can you hear me? Okay, she can't hear us, but we can see her. Thank you so much for joining us today, Timmy. We'll have you back on. Emperor's Cut Cigars, she gave you the information earlier. We really appreciate her for being on. And RTJs, listen, as always, I appreciate you for tuning in. I hope you found this to be a very, very good show, that you learned a lot about the industry of cigars. And I hope that you'll, you know, if you're in that arena, that you'll be able to partake and do some of the things that were not only recommended, but shared with you on today. That'll do it for this week's show, everybody. Make sure you tune in next week. Another fire show on the way. We got some things that we're going to be talking about here in the future. We're going to be talking about folks getting out on these bonds, killing folks. 2 officers just got shot. One of them murdered here in the city of Houston by somebody that was released on a bond. We're going to talk about that. And I'm going to have one of the judges on here in a future show. And also we're going to be talking about criminal justice reform and a lot of different other arenas in subject matters as well. So we're going to be talking about cybersecurity. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, man. Trust me when I tell you, you don't want to miss any episode of Real Talk Junkies every Wednesday, 12 noon Central Standard Time, right here on the Forward Times and Instagram, Forward Times, Facebook and Instagram pages. And don't forget, don't argue with me. Coming soon. Holla.